welcome to episode 61 of Little Big Knits. This is a podcast about knitting primarily, and I'm coming to you from Ottawa, Canada, where I live with my family. My name is Selma, and you can find me as Selma Knits on Instagram and Ravelry. So feel free to friend me or follow me should you so choose. Today we've got a lot going on. We've got the giveaway to announce from last time, and I've added a little something onto it. But we also have another giveaway because we have reached 15,000 subscribers on the channel. So I'll be talking about that a little later. Of course, we've got knitting and knitting and knitting to talk about as well. So come on in, and I hope that today you will find a chance to sit back and relax, or perhaps you're watching me while you're doing something unrelated to working with a craft of some kind. But I hope that the podcast will be a source of levity and light in what feels like a very heavy moment in time. In fact, I would say certainly for those of us around here, it's been a heavy time in the last couple of months. And just on the world stage, there is a lot going on. And I honestly felt like, what can I bring in this situation? I can bring a moment of lightness, a moment of reprieve, a moment of a splash of color when things may feel grim, hopefully some beauty to counter some of the ugliness. And I think that that is what we need to do. So let's start with some color and some beauty. Just before that, I'll just tell you that I will be sharing, of course, typical knitting content as well. And a lot of new patterns have come into my life, so I'll be sharing some of that as well. And yeah, so let's get going. All right, so I was going to get into knitting and all kinds of stuff, but I had wanted to do the giveaway first. Last episode, I announced a giveaway, a lovely, generous offer for 2 patterns to be given away by Cheryl Toy. And so I asked you to leave comments below and about some of your favorite makes. And we had some lovely comments. I started reading the comments and I said to my husband, what have I gotten myself into? I'm going to be going over to Ravelry every 5 seconds to look at some new patterns to me as people mentioned what they enjoyed knitting. So thank you for all that lovely, lovely inspiration. It was very, very nice. Now I've decided that I'm going to draw the 2 winners for those patterns, for that pattern. But I was also given the generous offer from, I'm assuming, a viewer of the podcast who's known as Pearl and Curl on Ravelry. Her name is Simone Rauxloch, and she has just designed a pattern. I was going to use it as a giveaway later that I'm going to have announced later in this episode for the 15,000 subscriber giveaway. But I've decided that because Simone has published the pattern today, actually this weekend, I'm recording on Saturday, not sure when this will actually get uploaded, I thought I want to give a copy of this away right away. It is such a beautiful pattern. It's called Ringa Ringa Roses, and it's a stunning colorwork pattern for socks with these white roses. And Simone goes into beautiful detail on her pattern about the significance of white roses through the ages. And right now, and actually she hasn't stated an end date, but Simone is sending all the proceeds for the sales of this pattern to the UK Disaster Emergency Committee Ukraine Humanitarian Appeal. So feel free to go and get a pattern of this, or a copy of this beautiful pattern for yourself. But I thought I would draw a winner for it today as well, in case putting it in a giveaway that was next time would mean that people wouldn't want to buy it right away. They'd want to wait if they won. So it's stunning. Simone, I have to say, the moment I saw it, I just thought, wow, that is really beautiful. So thank you so much for the offer. So I've actually drawn 3 names. 2 names for the cardigan pattern and 1 name for this sock pattern. So I'm going to announce those right away before we get into talking about what I'm wearing. So the first winner to have won the sock pattern is Judy Brewer. So congratulations, Judy. You have won the Ring a Ring a Roses sock pattern. As far as the cardigan pattern, the Olympia cardigan, that has gone to 2 people. Ruth Allen, congratulations, you have won yourself a copy of it, as well as Selva Akinci. Congratulations to you both. So Ruth Allen, Selva Akinci, you've both won a copy of the Olympia cardigan. And so the 3 of you, Judy Brewer, Ruth Allen, and Selva Akinci, can you please be in touch with me? The ideal would be on Ravelry so that the designers can gift you the pattern right away. However, if you're not on Ravelry, you can get in touch with me on Instagram as well. And if neither of those is possible, let me know down below and we can be in touch in some other way. So, congratulations, and thank you for all those lovely entries. It was really nice. Lots of different kinds of knits in the community. All right, let's move forward with what I'm wearing. Let's move forward with what I'm wearing. You have seen this a few times. This is the Stripes sweater by Andrea Mowry. And it is a yoked top-down sweater meant to be knit in a fingering sport weight and meant to be striped, although there are some solid versions as well. I cast this on Christmas Eve and finished it this week. Well, actually I finished it last week. And I took pictures of it, although I had not sewn in all the ends. And the pictures that I put on Instagram, I'll put one here. I took pictures of it, and then after I decided I want to add one more stripe to the body. So I'm going to stand up and show it to you, and you can see that it's got an extra stripe. And it's just a really, really great kind of like sweatshirt, like it's just got lovely ease, and it's just, I am very, very happy with this. I realized that, do I actually have any fingering weight superwash sweaters? And I have a cardigan, but I don't think I actually have any sweaters. And I think that this is going to be just a very nice light sweater for our spring. In this part of Canada, we have very cold weather in the winter, and we have very, very warm, hot summers as well. And the spring and the fall, you just never know what you're going to get. But I think that this will be perfect sort of mid sort of season wear, and it's just comfy and cozy and bright and fun. So let me tell you a little bit about, you may recall that I had some weird experiences. This sweater and I had some weird times together getting it going, because I had first forgotten to do an increase, went back, did the increase, and then the next one that was supposed to be done, counted my stitches, and then I realized that I had the stitch count for the size below the one that I wanted to make. Despite that, the top fits really nicely, but it was going to be like 0 ease, and that was not what I wanted. So I decided to do an extra set of increase, kind of in line with the way the other increases were progressing, and I ended up getting the ease that I wanted, which was just really, really cozy, comfy kind of ease. So it worked out in the end. Decided to do 3/4 length sleeves. I had actually made them a little longer, and then I brought them back and I added the extra green stripe here, just because I thought, I don't know, I felt like it was just a tad too short, and I think that this is going to be good. I wanted it to be the right length, where it's not long, but it's not cropped in the sense that I'm going to be wondering, you know, am I showing off my midriff? And I wanted it to be comfortable to wear all the time. So I think I got it. So I've written a list here in some lovely green ink with the fountain pen of the yarns that I used here. I used all yarns from my stash. They may be yarns that were just single skeins sitting there, not turning into anything, or they may have been partial skeins that were used for other projects. So let me tell you, this bright pink, which is the color that ended up being in all the ribbing sections, so I used a tiny bit more of that. I couldn't tell you how much I used, probably 50% of the skein, about. This is actually a yarn by Julie Asselin. It's the Nanos, which is a merino cashmere nylon blend. And this is a yarn that's been in my stash for a long time. The Twist Fiber Festival hosted a retreat. I think it was their first retreat, and they hosted it, I think it was 2014. And they had a little vendor's night, and Julie Asselin was there selling yarns, and I bought this at that time. So that had been in my stash for a long time, waiting. I thought that I would make a 1 skein shawl with it. Never happened, but it's now in this sweater. The next yarn here is actually a skein that I won as a prize by Urso Yarns. There was no colorway. It's a single ply, and I don't see single plies in her shop these days, but I have to say, oh, unfortunately I didn't bring the yarns, but this yarn was absolutely luminescent. It was absolutely beautiful, and just in a lovely sort of very warm beige with just a tinge of mauve to it. Really, really gorgeous. The third yarn, and what I wanted to say about this was that I had won this yarn, but there were 4 skeins of this with 3 skeins of Suri alpaca, and I had used those as a prize giveaway for the podcast. But I had kept one of the single plies because there were 4 of them, and I sent 3 of the single ply and 3 of the Suri. So I'd kept this one, and it's now there, and I still have enough that I could probably make a hat or something like that, and I think it's a really beautiful color. This color here, which comes across as very blue, I think of as more gray. This is the Fleece Artist Cottage Sock. It's a little thicker than all the other ones. It's a very nice, substantial yarn, and I had used that to make a cowl for somebody on my team a few years ago, and there were some bits left and enough for the sweater. This bright yellow here is Malabrigo Sock. I've got lots of it in the ochre colorway, which I keep thinking I'm going to turn into a cardigan. It hasn't happened yet. I bought this the last time I was in Uruguay at the dyeing center for Malabrigo. This cream color here is the Wool Barn in her silk sock in hint of cream, and it's just a beautiful creamy white colorway. The green is Madeline Tosh single, I don't know what she calls her singles, but Madeline Tosh singles in the Time colorway. This pink here, which was a gift from Mel of Mel Makes Stuff when she was a dyer for Whale Street Yarns. She had sent me this. It's got sparkle in it. I don't know that you'll see that on camera, but this was her Newberry base, and in the color, what was the color called? I wrote it down, Blush. Really beautiful color. Mel, hint, hint, beautiful color. And then this last sort of taupey brown here is also the Wool Barn. And this is her smooth sock base in the Cozy colorway. So all really, really lovely yarns, all very different. We've got some single plies, we've got some silk, we've got some MCN. There's just a whole bunch of different yarns here. So we'll see over time how they play together. Certainly I soaked this. None of the yarns lost color, so it was great. And yeah, so this is this sweater with all the yarns used in it. It was really fun to knit, actually. There were a lot of ends to weave in, I won't lie. And it did take me a few nights, but they're all in and they're all just fine. Oh, and there's one peeking out here, so I'm going to have to put that in somehow. I don't know how that got there, but yeah, it's really great. Somebody asked me to talk about the joins in the striping. I used, but I don't know that I did it all that well, but I used the, oh dear, what is that called? Suddenly it's slipped my mind. It's the jogless join, I believe. And this is where you essentially knit around of the new color once you've got the previous color below. And when you're starting the second row, you pick up the old color stitch and you knit it with the new color. There's lots of YouTubes about this. I didn't do it for the first stripes on the body, and then I realized, oh darn, I wanted to experiment with this. I think it works quite nicely. I'm not sure that, I think I did a pretty good job with it most of the time. What I like about it is that you right away, like, it sort of secures the connection between the old yarn and the new yarn, and I quite like that. But as I said, in my first stripes in the back, maybe what I'll do is take a little picture, a little video, and put it in here. In the first stripes, I didn't use it because as I said, I forgot. And then midway down the yoke, I started using it. And in the end, I don't think it made a huge difference. But as I said, I liked the securing, and it does create a little bit less of a jog, which is why they call it jogless. So I'm not one to use stripes a lot. And so, but I don't have them here. But when you don't use the jogless, there can be, the jogless method, there can be quite a ladder, which depending on the yarn will be noticeable no matter what. And I had made a pair of socks where I didn't do it, and it is, it is noticeable. I'm not sure that it's noticeable on this, but the video will tell you because I haven't actually paid that much attention to it. I just sewed in the ends, blocked the sweater, ready to wear. So there you go. Second finished object are these beautiful socks that I was knitting on last time, designed by Nancy Wheeler, called the By the Shore socks. They were published, and Nancy was able to raise money for the New Brunswick Alzheimer's Society with the sales from the first week. So this is really wonderful. I really enjoyed making these socks a lot, and very, very happy with the yarn that I'd chosen. I mentioned it to you last time. This was Hairblat's Regina, who's no longer dying, but this was a yarn that I had in my stash for a while. That was a gift from my friend Dana. Speaking of gifts, Just a reminder that we've got the LBK Connections Mal going on in our Ravelry group, which is all about using yarns and patterns that have been gifted to us or knitting or making for others. And I say knitting, but really it's all. So whether it was yarns for knitting or for crochet or fabrics or fiber that you are spinning and then making something with, all are welcome. It's all about making connections with the people in our lives who have given us things or who we want to give to, given us materials. So this would be an entry for the Connections Mal. So if you're interested, you can join us on Ravelry in the Little Big Knits group. You can also use the hashtag LBK Connections Mal and use that hashtag for Instagram if you want to join that way. At the end of the year, because it's a full year knit along, there will be prizes, and I'll be drawing prizes for Instagram as well as for Ravelry. So there you go. This was a really, really enjoyable knit. Nancy, congratulations on the pattern. I also told you last time that I used Patton's Croy FX for the heels, toes, and cuffs. And now that I've shown them to you, I can start wearing them. So those are the finished objects that I have today. In terms of works in progress, I had hoped that I would have another finished object for you today. But in fact, I only finished the knitting on this last night. So I haven't had a chance to sew in the ends or block it, but I had shown you last time that I had lost at Yarn Chicken with the Noux vest. This is a sweater pattern that I'm turning into a vest. This is a design by Suvi Simola. And I have wanted to make this for a long time, and I finally decided to make it as a vest using Hillesvåg Sölje in the Rosa colorway, and this beautiful yarn, which was given to me by my friend Kate as a Christmas present. It is the Blacker yarn. Oh my gosh, now I've forgotten the base. It's a new release that they have. That is the Woodland base, and it's a beautiful, beautiful fingering weight 4-ply yarn in their dark winterberry colorway. And I had run out of yarn about here, and I didn't want to make this short, and I did not, even though I've got plenty of this yarn, I really didn't want to have the color work at the bottom. I wanted it to be just all red or purple, let's say, or wine color, all the winterberry color. So I bit the bullet. I got another skein. I've now got a lot left because it didn't use up that much, but this could become a nice hat or something for the neck or for the hands, actually. I like that idea. So we'll see what this becomes. There's enough there to do something with. But yeah, so I just finished it last night because the yarn arrived. I think I went to pick it up on Thursday. So I wound up the yarn right away, and last night finished it. I think I even tried it on, but I haven't really had a serious look at it. I'm going to try it on, make sure all is well, and then wet it and block it so you'll see it next time. I loved this pattern. I loved doing the color work. It's very nice. I am very curious to see how this blocks out. I mentioned last time, if I'm not satisfied, I may cut and do decreases instead. I'll have to see how, but I think it's going to be lovely. And I wanted another vest. I finally got another vest. So that is going to be, well, it is finished. It's just not quite wearable yet. And that has been housed in this bag by Harrington Bags by Claudia, who lives in Montreal and makes these wonderful sort of Japanese rice bag shaped bags that I have 2 of, and I really, really like a lot. They're just great, and then they open up almost like a basket. So they're really great. And this was her Outlander series. that I'd gotten at one point. So after finishing pretty much finishing this one and running out of yarn for the Noux, I decided, all right, I'm casting on another sweater. So in this really lovely bag by Bags by Awesome Granny Darlene that she had given me, and she'd given one for as a prize for the podcast as well, is a new cast on, although I've done extremely well with it. This is the Dreyma, and I believe I spoke to you about this last time, that I wanted to use this Lopi yarn that I had gotten with gift certificates from for my birthday. So this is also part of the LBK Connections Mal. And I am making the Dreyma, which is a little bit of an older pattern, a couple of years old at least, pattern by Jennifer Steingass. I wonder if the date is on here. And I got this at one point when she was having a sale, when I was trying to figure out what I was going to make with this yarn. I think I had told you I was contemplating the Dreyma, but I was also contemplating the Holly sweater, which is really beautiful. I could see myself making that still at some point, but I decided that this time I would cast on the Dreyma. And here it is. Absolutely beautiful. I really, really enjoyed making this yoke. It was a lovely, easy make. In the original pattern, there are different shades of gray in the color work. I just did mine all in one color. And so the light brown is number 85, it's the oatmeal. And the cream color is the cream color, and it's number 51. Now I was watching Yana of Finnish Knitting Stories, and she actually just cast on a sweater as well with this oatmeal. But instead of cream, she had used the ash gray, which was really, really beautiful. And I was like, darn, I wish I had thought of that. But I thought, okay, another sweater in my future. It was a really beautiful combination. Now, I did the exact same thing with this sweater that I did with this sweater. I thought, okay, Selma, what is your problem here? And I think part of my problem is that I have my patterns. I print the color work chart, but I have the pattern, the rest of the pattern on my phone. And I think what happens is that I miss details because it's small. If it's just a one-line thing, I might just not even see it. And so I've come to realize, as much as I'd rather go as paperless as possible, I think that unless it's, well, even like this is a simple pattern, somehow I think I probably need to print the patterns, or at least the essentials of the pattern. So that means that what I did, there was supposed to be an increase row right after this rolled collar that I did not do. And the number of increases corresponded to the color chart repeat. So I did not notice, I didn't count along the way because it was all working out. And then when I got here and I was getting ready to do the short row shaping and divide for the body and the sleeves, I counted my stitches and realized that I was about 50 stitches off. I was on the size, well, no, I don't think I was on the size below. I was about 50 stitches off. However, this fit quite nicely. There was no issue with it, so I didn't feel like I needed to pull back, but I did. What I did here was that I decided, okay, I need about 50 stitches. How many do I need to add on? And then I just continued on as if nothing had happened, and it seems to be fitting just great. I finished the body to the part where I've just started the color work. And I wanted to share with you that for the color work, I am using a knitting ring. I didn't bring it down. You've seen me use one knitting ring, but this was a knitting ring that was gifted to me last year by Corina Lunita. You may remember that I was talking about knitting rings last year, and from talking about her knitting rings, she found out that I had been talking about her and she'd gotten some sales, and so she very kindly said, I'd like to send you a ring. So I hadn't had a chance to use this ring. this is a really beautiful ring. They can come plain, but she had put on some lovely flowers for me. And this is a ring where you could use up to 3 colors of yarn in your color work. It worked really well with the Lopi, with the worsted weight. I not 100% sure about how it would work on fingering weight because I ended up using my other ring for the Noux sweater. But certainly with the Lopi, it's been great. And I think I started the Lopi, or was it the Noux, without a ring, and I realized I can't knit color work without a knitting ring. It just doesn't work for me. It becomes very, very cumbersome and clumsy and unpleasant. So knitting rings work really, really well. So Corina Lunita has these knitting rings, and they come in some different sizes. And as I said, you can choose the number of loops that you want here, either 2 or 3. I don't know if she does 4. And it sits on your finger. The one thing I find is, and with my other knitting ring as well, is you have to find the position on your finger where it works for you. You know, for some people it might be leaning forward. For me, it needs to be a little bit higher up. So if you get a knitting ring, you are going to need to experiment with what could work for you. There are also, I think I was chatting with somebody about this on Instagram. Addie apparently has, you know, a more sort of industrial looking knitting ring that I'm sure would work as well. You don't have to get a custom made fancy one, but if you're wanting to treat yourself, they really are nice. As I said, I haven't really tried it with the fingering weight, but with the Lopi, it was great. So yeah, so that was fun. I was so glad to finally be able to use this lovely gift from Corina Lunita. There, and I keep it in the box. And that just goes into the project bag because I don't want to misplace it and then not know where it is. So I am hoping that the next time we see one another, this will be done as well. And then what do I have after that? Because I feel like I had a little case of cast-on-itis. It was requested that I make a pair of socks. So I am making a pair of socks. Now, I must say, I thought, what am I doing? You may recall that I had used this Regia brown yarn to make these socks for a friend of mine. And then I ended up loving the yarn so much that I bought more of it. And one of my kids wanted me to make them the same kind of socks, but they wanted it in this jet black. There's a bit of a charcoaliness to it, but I thought, am I nuts? What am I doing making cable socks in black yarn? So these are definitely, these are definitely going more slowly, simply because I need good light. I ended up buying myself one of those little flashlights. I often sit in the basement. In fact, I think this whole winter I spent time in the basement, and the light comes down in such a way that I see quite well. So they will get done. But this is, oh, there you see it quite nicely. So this is the Regia 4-ply tweed. I'm not quite sure what the colorway number is. 00098. And it's just got beautiful, beautiful flecks on it, which you can see there. Red and orange and green and blue. Really, really beautiful. So these are slowly being made. I've just about finished the gusset. I did a heel flap on here, and it's going really well. This pair of socks is being housed in a lovely bag that was a gift to me from my friend Sue from the Tangled Skein CA. She makes these wonderful sock pouches that have snaps on them and can also function as a little fold down kind of almost like a yarn bowl type of thing. So this sock project is being housed in here. And yeah, so we'll see if I finish this by the next episode, but certainly this pair, certainly I hope that I'll have one sock finished. But yeah, I still love this yarn, and I hope to make myself a pair of these socks as well at some point this year. Last episode, I showed you this languishing blanket, crochet blanket that's been sitting around in this bag that I'd made. The fabric I got at a flea market. Yearly, we haven't in the last couple of years because of the pandemic, but we've had a fabric flea market, a sewing flea market, and I got this beautiful tartan fabric from Scotland, 100% wool, with this beautiful interior fabric at that flea market, and made this bag. And in it, I showed you last time, was this blanket. And Mega, you helped me get my mojo back. Mega of Skein of Dreams is hosting a year-long blanket mal. It's called the Blankets of Dreams mal. And I haven't worked on it in a few days, but I'll be working on it later today. So I have one square left on this row, but I just about finished this row this week. So I'm so pleased to be working on this. And I have to say that I can't tell you a whole lot about the yarns. The only yarn I can tell you anything about is this one, which was Martushka Yarns. Martushka is not dying anymore, but she had sent me this beautiful yarn, which I'd made a little yoke top out of. The rest of the yarns, I can't tell you what they are at this point. They're yarns that have been in my stash. Often, at one point, I was doing a lot of swaps, and so these are yarns that I would have gotten from the swaps. So just really pleased to be working on that again. I'm using a 3mm hook for it, and I'm joining the squares as I go and having a lot of fun with that. I haven't worked on it a whole lot this week because I was really trying to get this finished as well. Then the new yarn arrived, and I was trying to get the body finished on the Dreyma, but I'll be spending some time on that this weekend. The two other things are still kind of in a swatch beginner phase. This is a lovely bag that Amelia gave me from the Mila Sweet Makes. I'm going to put this shop here. Suddenly I'm realizing I'm not remembering it. That I'd gotten from her a couple of years ago. This is a lovely spring bag as well. I'll be excited to ride my bicycle when the time comes. And in here is the very beginning of the Fairy Bouquet sweater by Joanna Ang. I'm very excited to be using this yarn. Now, I don't know what took me so long to conclude that I should use this yarn from my stash. I have this yarn that is by Fine Fish Yarns that I had gotten a couple of years ago, and it is a cream yarn that has light pink and mauve flecks going through it. I spent so much time trying to figure out what color to use to make this sweater. And I really like the original sweater, which is a very sort of creamy kind of color. But I kept thinking that, oh, maybe I should make it in something else. And I don't know why it took me weeks to conclude that I should swatch with that Fine Fish yarn and see what happens. And then I realized this is absolutely gorgeous. So I will be making this sweater in this yarn. Now, I had swatched with this yarn, which was an undyed mohair yarn that I got from Acme Fibers in the east coast of Canada. And I do have more of this, but I have ordered some yarn, some Knitting for Olive yarn from Espace Tricot that is a little different, and I'm gonna see which one I like more for the sweater. But then I'm looking forward to making this. This is the Fairy Bouquet by Joanna Ang. Actually, my next almost cast on is also a Joanna Ang pattern. She does not have many patterns, but her patterns are absolutely stunning. So yeah, we're going to be having perhaps a Joanna Ang spring. I don't know. So not a whole lot to tell you about this, except that I'm waiting for that yarn to arrive from Espace Tricot to give it a try and see, do I go with this absolute cream or do I go with something that's just got a little bit more of a hint of, I think there might be a slight hint of pink to it. I got the putty colorway. I had wanted to get cloud, but they didn't have the skeins from the same dye lot. So in discussion with them, we decided that I would take the putty and we'll see what happens. If I don't use the putty for this, it's going to go into something else that I'm planning, so I'm all right with that. And the last thing, which is only in swatch phase, and I decided to print the pattern, but I didn't print the pictures, so I've just printed the instructions, is the Koyamae, also by Joanna Ang, which is in this really fun bag that I got at Christmas by Lolubise, who is a Quebec bag maker. And I'm just swatching. I swatched first with the recommended needles, but I'm swatching with one size lower just to see if I prefer it. But I'm hoping to be casting this on soon too in my Nutiden yarn. This is the Sinne colorway, and this is a Shibui mohair silk in the color Vintage Rose. So I first swatched with the 5mm needles, but I've started swatching with the 4.5 just to see if I prefer it. But this is going to become the Koyamae, which is a sweater, but I'm going to make it short sleeve so that it's actually more of a vest. So let's see next time I podcast where I've gotten with these last two projects. So I think that is more than I usually have on the needles. I think with the cocooning of winter, my mind has been very active, thinking and wanting to cast on everything. So, as I mentioned earlier, I believe I mentioned earlier, we have reached 15,000 subscribers for the Little Big Knits podcast on YouTube. So I wanted to do a giveaway. And thank you so much for subscribing to the channel, for coming every time or time to time, to thank you for all the likes and all the very generous comments. It's just been such a joyful experience to podcast. Absolutely a joy in my life. It's brought community to me, and I think to some of you as well. And I really appreciate so much being part of this knitting community. And I think that this knitting community has a lot of good that it does. The encouragement and the support, the work that we do for giving to others, whether it's charity or the people around us, the friendship and community that we've gotten through podcasts, through Ravelry, through Instagram, through knitting festivals or knit nights, talking about getting together with others and talking about what we love, keeping the economy going one skein at a time. Creating beautiful, functional things and finding moments of quiet, right, through the making, as well as sparks of life through the creating that we do. So I'm just so thrilled to be part of this community, and I'm so happy that there are people here who want to be in this YouTube community with me. So thank you so much. I was offered a lovely gift by some different makers, a couple of skeins of yarn and something else that I wanted to offer up as a giveaway. And I will have a prompt as well. I've been podcasting for almost 5 years. I started in June of 2017. And there are so many podcasters out there. Some that are very well known, some that are not so well known, some that are new, some that have been around for a long time. And, you know, I think most of us know the really well-known podcasters, whether they're newer or have been around for a long time. But I thought it would be a nice time to celebrate a podcast that you enjoy, whether it is auditory or on YouTube. If you could, and you're welcome to talk about other stuff down below as well, but if you have a podcast that you really enjoy, that you would like us to know about, you know, mention it below. Perhaps it's a podcast that doesn't have that many subscribers, but you think it's really great. Please tell us below. I have no idea how the algorithms of YouTube work, and it seems like sometimes some podcasters become known, others don't, and I'm not always 100% sure why. Why do sometimes the episodes get so many more views than other times? It's all a mystery, I think, to the majority of us. But I thought it would be a nice time to mention and to give a little bit of views to a podcast that you enjoy, that perhaps is not as well known, and you can put that down below. So let me talk about the prizes today. First of all, Kelly Vaughn of Knit Swag. I had this mug last time, and I really enjoy this mug. Kelly had given me this mug, was it last year sometime? Kelly makes wonderful mugs, and she asked me if I would like to do a giveaway, and I said I would very much like to do a giveaway. Now, I don't think I mentioned to her that I was doing a 15,000 subscriber giveaway, but she has offered up either a mug or a tumbler from her shop as a prize. So this will be one of the prizes. Of course, if you get something like this, you would probably put your name or somebody else's name, whoever you want to give it to. And she has lots of different patterns and styles to choose from. So the winner would choose either a tumbler or a mug with a handle with their own choice on there. So that's one potential prize. The other potential prize is this wonderful skein of Roots and Rain yarn. You may recall a couple of episodes ago that I used her field sock, which is what this is, in indigo, and made myself a pair of socks that I have really enjoyed wearing. They are absolutely wonderful. And I'm looking forward to making another pair, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how they wear. So far, they've worn extremely well, but I've only worn them about 5 times, so I can't say too much. This is her field sock dyed in marigold. So this is another potential prize for somebody, or a prize for someone. So thank you so much for that donation. So the third prize that I wanted to give out was this wonderful sock tube that was created by Homebody, who is Jess and Ali, and they actually are related to Roots and Rain, and we've got an all-Canadian cast happening here. And they make these lovely sock tubes. You may recall that I made a pair of socks using one of these tubes for a friend at Christmas, and there is a contrast heel to go with this. This one is a lovely sort of Frankensock type of tube, and it comes with a wonderful progress keeper. So those are the 3 prizes for the 15,000 subscriber giveaway. If you want to enter, please comment below. If you want to comment below, but you don't want to enter, just make a little note about that. But as usual, I'm going to enjoy reading your comments, and I'll draw a winner in the next podcast for that. I am not 100% sure when my next podcast will be. I will be going to Knit City at the beginning of April, and I'm going to be volunteering at the Urso Yarns booth there. So if you are going to be at Knit City, look for the Urso Yarns booth and come and say hello. I should be there. I will be volunteering all week. I'll be going on Friday to help Rose set up, and then I'll be staying all weekend to volunteer there. I'm really, really excited to be able to experience a knitting festival again, first of all, let's just say, and secondly, to be experiencing it a little bit differently. So yeah, so I don't know exactly when I'm going to podcast. So I just wanted to mention a few of the patterns that have come into my life recently. There have been some initiatives of designers who have given their proceeds to a charity of some kind that was supporting Ukrainians in some way. And I definitely partook of some of those patterns to support. One of the designers was Along avec Anna, and I bought the Rosa cardigan, which is a cardigan that I've been eyeing for a long time. It's been in my favorites. So very happy to have bought that. And I wanted to make it in white. I have some white yarn upstairs, so that will hopefully become a cardigan this summer. I would like to make a white cardigan for the summer. Petite Knits also had a day where the sales went to support Ukrainians, and I ended up getting the April cardigan, which is another one that I've also been eyeing. As you know, I always want to make cardigans. I don't make them enough, but the April cardigan, which is a fingering and mohair combination cardigan, and it's just got a really nice fit. I also got the No Frills sweater, not because I intend to make it, but because everybody who makes it raves about it. So I thought, you know what, maybe this is a good one to have if I want a simple raglan sweater, because everybody speaks so highly of it that it's good to have a good raglan pattern around. Koyamae Bergen recently published the Chaco vest, which is a really neat construction. Well, the construction itself is not so neat, but it's got this neat little collar on it. And all proceeds from the sales of this vest, for the time being, are going to, I'm not quite sure which charity, but also to support efforts in Ukraine. Knitting for Olive had donated 100% of the proceeds from their yarn last weekend. I tried really hard not to buy yarn, and I was successful. I didn't end up buying Knitting for Olive yarn, but I got it from Espace Tricot because I couldn't decide on anything, and then I realized no, and then I realized after the sale was over, oh, actually I could have used this, but then I thought, you know what, I'm going to get it from Espace Tricot because the shipping is half the price. But I ended up buying the Bregna sweater from Knitting for Olive on that day. That was one thing I could decide on. Also known as the Fern sweater, which I've been eyeing for a long time. It's a beautiful pattern. I also got some sock patterns from a Ukrainian designer who sells on Etsy. Her shop is D19 Eco-Friendly Life. And I got 3 patterns from her. I'm just realizing I'm not 100% sure that the patterns have names, but she's got 6 or 7 patterns, actually maybe even more than that, in her shop, in addition to beautiful sock blockers and gauge measuring utensils. And she's got beautiful things in her shop, but I decided to get these sock patterns. I especially like the lacy ones, so we'll see when those get knit up. In addition, I got the Foxberry sweater by Sari Nordland, which was recently published. And I was so inspired by Mega of Skein of Dreams, her version, that I thought, that's it, I have to make that. And the last two were recently, at some point not too long ago, Jennifer Steingass had a sale, and I got the Sunray pattern. And a free pattern that I liked, which is called Knit It Cozy. It's a free pattern by Nadia Crétin-Lachaine. I've knit patterns from her before and really like them. And this is just a really simple yoke sweater that is a free design. It looks like it might fit quite nicely. So if you are thinking about a yoke design and would like something simple, this is a nice free pattern on Ravelry. So I didn't buy it, but I put it in my library for it to keep it there. So yeah, so those are the knitting patterns that have come into my life. And I told you last time that I'm doing a monthly pledge to not buy yarn. Now, you're going to say, but Selma, you just bought some knitting for Olive. But that's going towards a specific project, so I don't consider that stash yarn. And if it's not going to go into that project, it's already going into another project. So it's sort of, I would never make a sweater out of mohair alone. I tried the Myrtle sweater, which I just swear every time I knit on it. I don't enjoy knitting mohair alone, that's for sure. Perhaps on larger needles, I've made mohair scarves in the past, but not for a sweater. But I haven't bought any yarns for new projects or anything like that. So I'm doing these pledges for myself every month. And March is another one where it's a no-buy yarn. April, I'm going to a knitting festival. I'm making myself a list, but we'll see what happens. And I give myself a little something at the end of every month. So at the end of February, I bought myself this book, the Twisted Stitch Sourcebook by Norah Gaughn. Norah Gaughn, as you know, has really interesting designs. Sometimes they can be a simpler, sort of more conventional design, such as this sweater, but sometimes they might have more unusual shapes to them. And she's renowned for just having really interesting designs, often with cables. Like here's one that has a little bit more of a different shaping to it, and it'll be a different construction because it starts from there. So she just does very different things. This book is all about different stitch patterns. It's basically a stitch dictionary. Whoops, I won't show you the actual stitch dictionary with twisted stitches. So it's the Twisted Stitch Sourcebook. I also have her Cable Stitch Sourcebook. And there are some pattern stitches in here that I just really, really love, and I am quite sure that where did it go now? This pattern here, I absolutely love, and I think I need to have a sweater in this. So there are a few in here that I really want to work with as well, and it's mostly stitch patterns, but then you get some knitting patterns as well. This is a beautiful sweater pattern. So I think there are about 8 or 10 patterns, as well as a lot of different stitch motifs that you can use for different patterns if you want to explore, and they're all based on twisted stitches. So there's another one that's really beautiful. So I had been taking this book out of the library over and over again, and I thought, okay, I think this needs to be my little gift to myself in the month of February, because I just keep taking it out of the library. So there you go. I think that brings us to the end of the knitting podcast and the knitting content. I don't even know where the last 3 weeks have gone. I think it's, as I said earlier, it's been a time of cocooning. I have been in the basement knitting, watching Ozark. I've gotten totally sucked into Ozark. People kept mentioning, so I thought, okay, I'll watch it. As well as, knitting and watching the news, local, international. I have to say I have been sucked in the news for the last couple of months. I also went to the movies. I went to see Belfast, the movie by Kenneth Branagh about the Troubles in Ireland. It takes place in Belfast, which was quite good. And that's most of the screen time that I've been doing, as well as watching podcasts. So there you go. That's how the last 3 weeks have been, essentially. I hope this podcast has found you well, and that you have been able to have a moment of calm and levity, working on something or lying back and relaxing. And we'll see you next time. Take care.
All the stars have come in close just to see you, I suppose, and they're a-gleaming. You must be dreaming, and the sun has said goodbye with a twinkle in his eye. He's left the ocean with sweet emotion. We go dancing in the rain, riding on a midnight train, away so slowly. And the moon is looking down on the sleepy side of town, and he's so lonely. I love you only. I love you only. All the birds have taken flight. It's their favorite time of night, when they can hear you from somewhere near you. And the palm trees try to bend to be closer to their friends. They're made of magic. Reach out and grab it. We go dancing in the rain, riding on a midnight train, away so slow.